All right, so now we are ready to discuss Marquis's argument. In the argument in the number premise form, and this is on the handout called Marquis's flow argument, future like ours argument. Um, so if you're following in the handout, premise one, if an action deprives something of a valuable future, future like ours, then that action is a serious moral wrong. Premise two, an abortion deprives something of a valuable future, future like ours. Therefore, abortion is a serious moral wrong. All right, if we were having class, I'd be like, what argument form is this? And then people would go, modus ponens. And then some people might say the wrong one, and some people might look down. But anyway, that's not what we're doing right now. Okay, so it is modus ponens, so that means it's valid. All right. Now what we want to do is address, what Marquis is going to do is address a possible objection. And the objection he raises and considers is the objection that says, premise one is false because it implies that contraception is wrong. Okay, now this is discussed on bottom of page 344 to 345. And it would apply to premise one. Premise one says if an action deprives something of a valuable future, then that action is a serious moral wrong. And somebody could say, well, when you use birth control or contraception, you're depriving something of a valuable future, but you're not doing anything wrong. So that's the objection to premise one, okay, which says if your action deprives something of a valuable future, then it's a serious wrong. You're saying, well, when you're doing that, when you use birth control, but you're not doing wrong, so that's why premise one is false. Okay, so that's the contraception objection. It's a pretty interesting one. Now we want to try to think of a response to this argument, or Marquis is going to give a response. What Marquis is going to say ultimately is that with contraception, there isn't a thing that is just deprived of a future like ours. So when we compare contraception to abortion, with abortion, there's a thing there, a zygote or a fetus, and you're preventing it from having a valuable future. Okay, but with contraception, there's no thing there yet that you're depriving of a valuable future. Uh, and to try to make this case, he develops it by considering what are the possible options the person giving the contraception objection could give for what is the thing that's not having a valuable future. So I drew a little sperm and an egg. Okay, and then there's four options for what could be the thing that is losing out on the valuable future. You might say it's just the sperm, just the egg, each separately, or both combined. Okay. Uh, the sun. Okay, and now he doesn't want to say it's just the sperm because you might say, well, why is it the sperm rather than the egg? Right? There's no explanation for why it's the this. Sorry about this. Sun's coming out again. There's no explanation for why it would be the sperm that's losing out on the future like ours rather than the egg. And what we just said about that could be said about the egg. Why would it be the egg that's losing out on the future rather than the sperm? You could say that both of them are each separately losing out on a feature, a valuable feature, but then we're saying like too many things are losing out on a valuable feature. Two things rather than one thing. Okay, you might say both combined, the combination of the sperm and the egg. Now here, Marquis says something really interesting. What he notes is there's not a single sperm that's going to be losing out. Like there's no one sperm egg combo because there's millions of sperm, right? Um, so he's going to ask, well, which one? Which one is going to be the sperm egg combo that's losing out on a possible future? And he says there's no good answer for that. All right, so that's what he says, or that's my best take on what he says. Now, is that a good response? That's up to argue and discuss. Um, you might address this in your argument analysis, although if to go this far, we're at an objection to it. So there's this contraception objection. This is his reply to that objection. So that might be a little bit too more than you want to address. But it's up to you if you want to do an additional response to Marquis. That's more than is asked for in the argument analysis, but you could go that way. Or you could try to develop your own objection to the argument. If you do just use the contraception objection, you should address some of these points in some original way to get the originality constraint originality requirement for your argument analysis. All right, so that's Marquis, and yeah, and that's all Marquis. So we went through that much faster than Thompson. His argument's much more straightforward. I wish I could get a sense from the class, like overall, who's been more compelling. I mean, Thompson says more. Marquis says a little bit less, but it's a pretty interesting argument. On the whole, when the chips fall, who's right? Well, that's something for us to think and discuss. I wish we could discuss, but that's about all we can do for now. So, all right.